There we go.
It's a creepy voice recording in progress.
I know, and Zoom has like all these AI features now, which I haven't even explored yet, but yeah, we'll see. I've been using Zoom for, I guess, 7-ish years now for my team calls.
Yeah.
And I don't, it's really good for like recording because it records our audios separately well, so it's easy for editing podcasts and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Just trying to put my phone on airplane mode here so it doesn't ding because I never get messages and it'll be now while we're chatting.
Even if you do, don't worry about it. No big deal.
So, yay, thanks for agreeing to talk to me.
Of course.
My podcast, Shit That Keeps Me Up at Night, is like my brainchild from many years ago, like probably more than 10 years ago. And I sat on the idea for a long time and I bought the domain and sat on it for a long time. And then I put out a couple episodes and it's been like super flaky with me showing up. And I was like, you know what? I want to shoot the shit with someone and talk to someone who inspires me. And I picked you. I thought, I feel like we have a lot of synergies um, in some areas. And I was like, you know what? You inspire me. So I want to shoot the shit with you. It gives me a reason to talk to you and a reason to have a valuable podcast episode to put out where it's not just me talking to myself. I feel like as someone on social media all the time, we can feel like we're just like always talking to ourselves.
Right? Just like dead space of, I, is this a journal? Because I hate journaling. I don't want to do this anymore.
That's what I tell people. I'm like, my Instagram is my virtual journal, and you're just getting to read it.
It's true. I was thinking about that this week because every time I try and focus on numbers, because like one of the goals that I had was getting to 10,000 by the end of the year. And I kind of transformed when I started doing the last half marathon and I saw some engagement and new followers and a new niche. I was like, oh, I could totally just dive into this again. And then I start to hyper focus and it's so unreal how much of a disconnect happens and how much I hate it all over again. And then I stop showing up and I'm flaky because I
Like,
don't like it and it's not me.
yeah, I totally get that. And that's like, so I'd love to start by us introducing each other because I think it plays onto that whole social media thing so well because we've never actually met in real life.
No.
And so I think it's cool to see how we perceive each other through our virtual connection. So, yeah, I don't know. Do you want to introduce me first, just based on what you know of me?
Yeah. So this is Jess, and she is a super motivating person that I came to love through some gluten-free friends when my ex-husband, we were kind of navigating that journey and the content, the books, the realization that life after celiac disease is not a death sentence unless you have gluten. And then just focusing on fitness and well-being and the fact that fitness isn't just your body, it's your mind too. Putting all of that stuff together, making this beautiful human being who wants to just help other people while making herself the best version of them that she could be.
I love that. And I feel like it describes you so much too. Like, this is Cassie. We met online, and I wasn't exactly sure the channels that connected us. I know you're
Ash and Wrath, I would say.
okay. Yeah, that makes sense then. Celiac and the Six and Eat with Raf on Instagram.
You got it.
Yeah, so I was at the time big into the body platform and building my community through there. So I started with G Free Wifey and then did the body. So that's where we connected. So this is Cassie. I know her from online. I've been following her for years. We got connected through some Instagrammers and she just constantly shares real life. Raw dog in reality. She's, I would describe you as like a lifestyle influencer, but really just living life, showing up and showing people that we all have these same daily struggles. Like there's so much bullshit in life, and the hardest part of life is showing up. And I think you do that so authentically online. It's so relatable. Your content is not necessarily curated or edited, or you're just like showing up in the shit and sharing it to inspire and motivate other people to be like, you know what? We got this shit. We're doing the shit. Let's do it. And that's so motivating and inspiring. Um, I would say you in your bio on Instagram, you describe yourself as a runner now, and that's where we're having a lot of synergies right now. Because I'm like, okay, I'm a runner, which is so weird to say, and I've really not been doing it. I just had a soft year, I call it. I did two back-to-back training camps, and for kickboxing and MMA stuff. And then I just was like, okay, I need to get back. And this really plays onto what you were saying earlier of like hyper focusing and sharing all the stuff. And then you're like, oh, it's too much. I just needed a break. So I stepped away from everything. First, I stepped away from all gluten-free stuff and totally transitioned my channel to fitness, all about me. And now I'm like, feel like I'm trying to like break away from that a little bit. So I totally get that. But you just, the way you show up authentically is so inspiring. I'm like, I need you in the self empowerment studio, sharing that energy, because the hardest part for everyone is just showing up. Like, so for you, like, tell me about your running journey because I think it's fair. Like, when did you start running?
Oh, it's a fucking flaky journey right now. I'm
Same.
so unprepared. Oh, I'm freaking out. But besides that, I did cross country when I was younger and I really liked it and I was awful at it. But it was one of those things where I was okay with being awful at something, which as a child was very unusual because if I was not the best at something, I just would walk away from it. And I was always like the last coming in and I didn't care. It was just something physical and I was moving. I was really good at track and field, so short distances. The cross country long distance was kind of my cap. And then life happened. Baseball was always kind of the thing. And when I was 14, I broke my ankle. So all of that kind of stuff just flatlined. I did go back to baseball the next year, even my martial arts, because I did Aikido and military unarmed combat for several years, got very high in that world. Um, Broke my ankle and was terrified to roll. So then, fast forward, I did it here or there. I'd kind of go out and I was larger. It was uncomfortable. Um, but I always knew that it was something that I could do, and all I needed was a pair of shoes. I didn't need the gadgets. I threw on my shoes, whether I was walking or running, but I never felt like I could be part of that running space. I think it was probably about 2017 I started looking back into it a little bit, and I was talking to a friend of a friend, and she put me on Kelly Roberts, and she said, if you haven't listened to Run Selfie Repeat podcast, you'll hate me for this since, the whole podcast thing. I don't typically listen to podcasts because my brain does not focus enough. This was the first podcast that I listened to and actually could fully invest because I saw my reflection. I heard finally something in my community where I was at the time, I don't know, I was kind of ebbing and flowing. I had lost a bunch of weight. Then I was put on hormone therapy and I catapulted back to about 220. So I was very uncomfortable in my body. I wasn't finding things that I could do. I didn't feel like I could go out and run in public because I felt like everybody was always looking at me, wondering what the fuck I was doing with my life. Like, why are you running? Um, you're gonna get a black eye. Those boobs are going the wrong way. Which also, you the running community, it's much better now, but the running community, even 5 years ago, was not body focused. So the gear wasn't there for us. We didn't have proper supporting sports bras. We didn't have that. So I'd go out and I'd feel like a complete incompetent loser. Started listening to Run Selfie Repeat, and Kelly started doing marathons and kind of getting popular by taking pictures of hot guys and posting them during her race. But also being inclusive in that space. All bodies are runner bodies. It doesn't matter, which is kind of like the body platform too, right? So I got into beach body at that point. It's body now. Um, it didn't matter. All bodies were beach bodies. All bodies could do anything, and that was really empowering. So I was about to get married, decided that after I got married, my husband at the time and I would go run a half marathon because I am very much like black or white. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. I don't run at all. Let's go run 21.1 kilometers on Pelee Island and then go to a wine festival afterwards. That sounds lovely. Um, but I trained for about a month and my ankle was giving me problems and I went to a surgeon and it turns out after I got in for surgery, they had left a piece of bone fragment from my surgery when I was 14, the size of a loonie that had been floating around and giving me problems all this time. So sold our bibs to Peely, never thought I'd run again. Life happened, I ended up getting divorced and being a single parent to a very young child. Didn't have time for myself. I was struggling with working out even independently. Ada was about one at the time, 1.5, and she started seeing me doing home fitness again, and she'd participate, but you just wanted time. I just wanted time to myself. I had no idea who I was. I had invested my life in becoming a wife, getting a career, becoming a mom, never becoming Cassie. And I finally saw an opportunity in this giant traumatic shithole to make myself who I wanted to be, not who I was, maybe pieces of who I was, but who I wanted to be in that moment. And I decided to start running again. So I had a really small goal that I wanted to do my first 10K. Um, that I started training. I also have PCOS, so that made it challenging. I was at the time having really, really bad periods. I was bleeding 3 weeks of the month, which made running challenging too. And finally, after advocating for myself enough, I got in and I had an ablation done, which was a really hard choice, but had the ablation done, decided no more kids or unlikely to have any more kids at the time. And after that, went, okay, I'm better now. I don't have all of these excuses. Training is starting. So I started training in June of 2024. And at that time, I also was accepted to be an ambassador for Kelly Roberts' Badass Lady Gang. So this culmination in full circle of the person that inspired me to start running years before that made me feel inclusive, all of a sudden saw me, for the person that I was in that moment, not for the person that I was for somebody else. And that was extremely empowering. And she believed in me that I could do this. So I trained all summer, and it was about a year ago. It was September 14th on 2024. I ran my furthest distance, which was my first 10K. A month later, I ran my second 10K. And then in the spring, I was asked to run for my work at a race that they were sponsoring. So I ran a 5K there. Um, and decided that I was going to do a half marathon. Like I was on this trajectory. I had done the 10. I was really proud of myself, but I needed something more because if I don't have a goal, I won't continue doing it. So I ended up training. And actually, was that what I was chosen? No, I think that might have been when I was chosen to be the ambassador. Yes,
Okay.
scratch that. It wasn't the 10K. I did the 10K. And then I applied to be the ambassador after
Did the
realizing.
10K and
Yeah, I
inspired
did the
everyone.
10K, then went, oh wait, I can actually do this. Let's do the half. And I applied to be the ambassador. So was the ambassador during my half marathon for Badass Lady Gang. I was in the Badass Lady Gang doing my 10K and kind of getting the coaching there and had formed those relationships. So fast forward, doing the half marathon training, and all of a sudden I'm realizing that I'm getting this time to myself and I'm prioritizing myself and I'm committing to myself and I'm feeling worthy of myself. And that just kept hitting in the passion of running. Like it's no longer just a sport, it's becoming a part of my identity because it's creating an identity. It's creating this worthiness and internal satisfaction that only I can give myself. And it doesn't matter how far I go, how fast I go. It doesn't matter who's cheering me on, although that support system is extremely critical as well to anything like this. It's just me. And I had never felt that power before because it was always for someone else or somebody else's approval or somebody else's goal or somebody else's thought of what I could achieve. This, I had people telling me I was crazy. Like I had people saying, you know, you're committing to all of this. Are you missing out on X, Y, and Z? No, I ended up starting to feel because when you run a half marathon, again, why I'm feeling super unprepared for the next one in 3 weeks. Um, but when you're running a marathon, it's commitment. Like I'm doing 3 or 4 days of training, whether it's strength, cross training, running, but also if you don't do the internal work, you are not going to have that mental capacity in your last 5 kilometers or 3 miles to get to that finish line. And then I got to the finish line. Um, Before the race, I was feeling very vulnerable, very, I felt like it was, I was an imposter, that this was ridiculous. I'd put in all of the work. My daughter had been supportive. Every Sunday she'd ask me, she'd go to her dad's because, and that was my long run day because it was my time alone that I could dedicate the 2 hours of training I needed. And she'd come home and go, Mommy, how far did you run today? A 4-year-old is getting excited about what her mom is achieving, not upset because her mom is taking time for herself. And that was empowering in its own. But I get to the race and I said to my friend, can you write something on my arm? I don't want to know what you're going to write. Write something on my arm that you think is going to get me to the finish line. And he wrote one more. And it was really funny because that did get me to the finish line. And afterwards I said, you wrote one more. And every time I looked down at my arm, I just reminded myself, I can make it 1 more kilometer. And he said to me, it's funny because I wrote one more knowing that maybe you would need one more breath or one more step or one more eyes up looking for a friend in the crowd or 1 more kilometer. It didn't matter what you needed. You just needed one more of something, and that one more would be with you the whole time.
Oh, I'm gonna cry. That's so
Right?
touching. Right.
Um, And all of those pieces, I didn't know that I'd ever run again. Like I thought maybe I'd be one and done. I thought maybe this would be just the catapult into learning who I was and then kind of developing from there. But all of those pieces that came together from this experience made me realize that I saw myself for what all of the people that I love me. I saw that person for the first time in a really long time. I saw that I was worthy of that love. I saw that I was worthy of the time that I had committed to myself. I saw that I was human and I deserved to take up space.
100%.
So now I'm just doing one more race.
Yeah, no, and you like as you're telling your story, I'm like, we must have connected around 2017, like when I started, because I'm like, I have watched your whole journey online as you're telling it. I'm like, yeah, I remember that. I remember that. And
Yeah.
just seeing like how you've showed up with like grace and dignity through the whole experience and all the ups and downs. Yeah, it's like the hardest part for people is just showing up. They're tired. They had a hard day. They had this shitty thing happen to them. They're dealing with a breakup. Like you're a single mom, like that's its own challenge. And to hear like how you're inspiring your daughter and she's, cheering you on. Like there's so many moms in the self-empowerment studio group who, yeah, they're doing their workout at home and their kids see them and like you're showing them how to take that power. It's cool to watch.
It's
Um,
showing them how they deserve to take up space and time too.
yeah,
Because it's not just about power, it's not just about doing the physical movements. It's about feeling like you can honor yourself and that that time and that space actually means more to your day to day than you realize. Because giving yourself that time and space fills the rest of the day when you go out into the world. Your head is held high and you still feel like you were allowed to take up that space. My career has gotten better. My relationships have gotten better because I'm no longer masking. I'm no longer morphing into what I think they want me to be. Because what they want me to be is normally wrong because perception is this weird thing. You think
yeah.
because you focus on all of your shit. You focus on all of the things that you don't like about yourself and then project that and expect that that's what everyone else is thinking when most of the time
They're
it's
thinking about
not.
themselves too. Yeah.
Right. So when you take up that time and space and you honor yourself enough to give that to you, whether it's every day, whether it's, every other day, weekly, whatever you have the ability to give, every time you give it to yourself, you realize that you want a little bit more because you go out into that world and those projections become less and less negative. Um, in therapy, I was talking to my therapist about how again, the hyper focus, right? Like you get that focus on this traumatic thing happened to me and this is now my world. There are so many little dots around that big trauma dot that we forget to look at or embody or embrace that we never branch out to the good dots to make them the big dots. And until we start to really embrace those little dots, those big dots are going to be the focus and the projection of our lives. And that's not okay. There is so much good. There is so much joy. And there is a lot of heart and there is a lot of shit and there is a lot of sadness. But if you don't feel those peaks and valleys equally, then you're flatlining. And life isn't worth flatlining for.
Yeah. I think it's definitely important to have perspective. And like that's really why I started this podcast is because there's so many people who are just caught up in the hard day, the hard moment, the hard season. And, I had so many people around me, overdoses, taking their lives, like so many things happening. And it's like, there's so many other things around. It's so hard to get out of that tunnel vision. So for me, running really contributed to that. When I started exploring fitness, I was terrified to run. I didn't think I could do that. I'm not a runner. I can't do that. I just remember being like, I'll start working out when I quit smoking. And then I'd quit smoking and I'd quit doing all the things. I wasn't doing drugs. I wasn't drinking. I was like, okay, surely I can run. I don't need to rely on anyone. I don't need to pay for a membership. I just need running shoes. It's all up to me when I push myself to get out that door and go. How often, how fast, how long, how far. Like it's all just up to you. It's you against you. And I remember the first 5K I did was for Celiac Canada. They asked me to be their community champion. And I was like, okay. Like I was starting to share like my little runs on Instagram. And now all of a sudden people saw me as a runner. And I was like, whoa, whoa, like I'm not even
The
the whole time I'm like walking and stopping.
breaks.
And now I'm this face of this run. And I just remember the first 5K, like that I stopped at every kilometer and did a shout out to somebody who like motivated me or inspired me. And as I hit the last kilometer, I just started bawling. I was like, oh my God, like these are the streets I used to be out on partying. I'd be coming out of a rave, seeing people running. Now
Hmm.
now I'm one of them. But yeah, like even now, like I tell people, I'm like, if I don't run or if I'm not sleeping or if I'm having anxiety and I just feel like I go for a run because a lot of times when I run, I'm crying. I am like working through shit. I am thinking, I'm processing. And I think a lot of people don't want to show up because they don't want to be with themselves. And so it's really about being able to be with yourself, those thoughts that come up, those feelings, that shit that keeps you up at night. Those are the things that you start to be with. So when you run, do you listen to music? Do you do silent runs? What do you normally do?
No, I don't, nobody needs to listen to me breathing. And it's funny that you mentioned that because it's one of the things that I love most about running, and it's one of the questions that I ask a lot of runners too. Running for me is I listen to music. I have started, I'm not a big audiobook person, but I have occasionally thrown on an audiobook depending on where I'm at. But running for me is the only time that my brain is silent.
I love that.
And for someone that is an overthinker, perfectionist, type A personality, that is extreme high, low, black, white, to have silence in my brain was so scary when I started running because it was like all this thought that just the thoughts stopped. All I was doing was focusing on the beat of the music, my breath, and the way that my feet went to the beat of the music. And I'm a musician, so having that cadence again
Mhm.
without 45 different things that I needed to do or thought trails of like, oh, if I do this, then I have to do that, and I need to remember this. And being a full-time single mom, now I also have to think about Ada's life. And there's always so much, and it felt so heavy. And for the first time, I didn't feel any weight. I just felt free and light, and it felt really nice.
Mhm.
So then I ran a little bit further and it didn't change. And I ran a little bit further. And a lot of people, you've probably seen on my Instagram on Sundays when I do my long run, I mention that it's church. I don't go to church. I don't go to church. Not that I don't believe in religion, it's just different for me. And when I go out there, that is when I feel relief and peace. And I am an awful person if I don't go running. Because that weight brings me down. Like I haven't run this week and I'm already starting to feel it. It's been a really hectic week. I have a lot on the go. There's personal things. And sometimes I forget that if I don't prioritize myself for that silence
Mhm.
for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 2 hours, sometimes just 10 minutes, like I'll go out just for a quick run around the block. If I don't have that, I'm just, I'm not me. I'm kind of this vessel that is carrying all of this information, and all of the information starts to become fear and anxiety. And I lose my hope. So when I put my music on, I put my running shoes on, take my first 10 steps, all of a sudden I start to feel hope again.
I love that. As a runner, you've talked about the gear and like as you've progressed through your journey and become a runner,
Yeah.
what kind of I know you have the vest now. I just got my my first running vest for my birthday. What tools or what items do you bring with you on a run?
Depends on how long the run is, but I'm so happy that the running community is being more supportive these days about things like vests. Because a lot of the time, a few years ago, people would laugh at people with vests because you're not running a marathon, you're not running an ultra. Why do you have a vest? Well, I couldn't wear a belly bag or anything like that because that would throw me off. So personally, for me, I like the vest. I have friends that don't like the vest because they have larger boobs and they don't like having that. I like that as well because it's almost like an extra sport or a
Right.
sports bra for me. So I have my vest. Um, I have my earbuds, which because I'm a long distance runner and I run on country roads, I swear by my shocks. They are outside of my ears, so I can still listen to everything, but have all of my surrounding noise, and I feel much safer on the roads. I running shoes, obviously. Long distance, I make sure that I have enough hydration and fuel. So I have goo that I take that works well for my body. And I have my camel pack in my vest, hat, sunscreen. I don't take that with me, but everyone should be putting sunscreen on before they go for their run. I don't care if it is gray and cloudy. Ginger, fair-skinned girl will always preach on my soapbox for that one. And a really good pair of sunglasses. So I have prescription. I need to wear them all the time. I'm farsighted. So I probably could go for a run without them. But I started wearing contacts when I started running. I've never worn contacts in my life because my prescription sunglasses don't fit on my face for sweaty sport.
Mm.
So it is vital to make sure that you have the tools that you need for the activities that you are doing, especially when you're running, having to take your finger, and it seems minute and silly, but having to take your finger and push your glasses up every,
So
30
annoying.
feet, it's so annoying and you get out of your rhythm and then you're out of that free hope space, right? Because now you're focusing on the equipment not working. So I really believe in gooder sunglasses. They fit well, they sit well, they protect my eyes well. So yeah, hat, sunglasses, vest, running shoes, headphones, a good playlist.
And do you follow a training plan, like a specific training plan?
So my badass lady gang, when I was doing the ambassadorship there, I did get a half program there. And then I've kind of morphed it to what I need. I make sure I do strength training every week. I try cross training is kind of like the hit or miss. If I don't get it in, my cross training is cutting my lawn or playing with my kid. Sometimes you have to be a little versatile when you have life happen. But strength is a must. I try and do two strengths, one cross train, one interval or hill train, one casual run, and one long distance run. So I do 6 days, one rest, with one flex day being that cross train or a strength. So must-haves are strength, casual, interval, um, and long distance. Now, again, that's when I'm training for a race.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people are like data driven. Are you someone who uses a fitness tracker or like an app to track all of your runs, or do you just go out and run and not track it?
No, I'm a very type A personality, so a number and my career is all number crunching, so that is 100% me. I do wear a Garmin. I was using an Apple Watch before, and I didn't find that it was run focused. It was more fitness focused, but that is very um, I have the means to have that tool. It is not necessary as a runner, and I think that it's really important to state that.
Yeah.
You don't need to have all of the expensive shit to run, which is why it is such a great sport because you can go out and do it. But I do use Garmin. If I wasn't training for a race, I'd be a little more lenient on that, but I have to make sure that when I'm doing my intervals or my casual runs or my long slow distance that I'm getting into a time frame to hit certain goals. You don't realize until you start getting into a training that slow running is just as important as fast running because you're getting that anaerobic and aerobic fitness in to try and holistically go in that mental health as well. Um, so casual run, I don't care. I just want to go out and run. When I'm training, I do have a little bit more stringent plan and number crunching.
Yeah, so I started with nothing. My sister had an Apple Watch and she was using it for running and I was like, "No, like I don't want one." I just was doing my thing. And then I got one and I was obsessed. I was like, "Okay, this is great." And I was using the Nike Run Club app and I
Yeah.
have all of my data from all the years back and I do find like I I became so dependent on it. I was like, I can't go for a run. My watch isn't charged, or I can't. And it's like, oh, so I would say only in the last like year, 2 years, where I had to start taking my watch off for jujitsu, that I became okay with not tracking. And so now it's like my Apple Watch won't even hold a charge. I'm lucky if it'll last a 5K. And I'm like, I don't want to buy another one. So I've been looking at the Garmin's and stuff like that, but you made a comment that you don't need the equipment. And this is something that I preach all of the time. I so often have clients who are like, you know what, I'm gonna buy the exercise bike or this piece of equipment to start doing it. And it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You hear those stories about people buying the equipment and then selling it on Marketplace. Buy the equipment when you've shown yourself that it's something you enjoy. So I got into running, I was consistent with it, and then I was like, okay, you know what? Yeah, I'll get the Apple Watch that I'm using because I am doing it now, and that's my reward for showing up and doing it. If I had just bought the watch, I would have the watch and I wouldn't be running. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely agree. It's been hard though because I'm very data driven, and so just having that disconnect from the technology has been really nice. But yeah, you get obsessed with like showing up. It's the same thing as, do you run alone or do you run with a run club? And I remember my sister being like, "You're going to a run club. Do not tell them you're using Nike Run Club. They're on Strava." And I was like, "No." And I showed up to this run club and they took a group picture. I was like, "Oh, can you send me that?" They're like, "We posted it. It's okay." And I was like, "Posted it where?" They're like, "In Strava. Don't you use Strava?" And I was like, "No, I use Nike Run Club." My sister, like, "You told?" But it's like I have all my data there. I don't want to move to another app. You get so overcommitted and hyper focused, right? So yeah.
And that was the thing with me. So I had the Apple, I did the 10K, committed to the half, and then kind of went, and you know what? I've done the work. I've committed. The Garmin for me, kind of the charge. So Apple, awful charge. Not great for runners. Garmin, I go for two weeks without charging my watch. And that's with doing, so that would be two short runs, two intervals, and one long run. So we're looking at like 40 kilometers of running plus just day-to-day life.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
I also found going away from Apple, um, because as much as I'm on social media and I have that presence there, I also just want to live my life away from technology. And Apple, I found, was committing. I was even getting the like ghost vibration on my wrist because I wanted someone to message me, or I thought, or I was expecting. And the Garmin kind of helped me detach that. So going away from Apple to Garmin actually improved my mental health and helped me detach from that need for connection. And now I can choose whether or not I'm focusing on that data or if I'm just going to go for me. And it's funny that you mentioned solo or group runs. I am a solo runner. I I enjoy that time alone. I would be a better runner physically if I ran with other people because I don't push myself as much as I would if somebody else was there with me. And I know that because when I was training for the work run, I started running with two coworkers and kept up just to keep up because that's the type of person that I am. I'm going to push myself to do it and realized I was fully capable to do it. And I had just gotten into that zone of this is the pace that I do on this day, and this is the pace that I do on this day. And I never pushed any
Yeah.
harder. So there's benefits to both. I like a blend. of I'll run with people sometimes, but those long runs I really do like alone because it is just my church.
Therapeutic and
Um,
yeah,
and same with races. Like it is really great to have someone race with you that is similar pace because they will get you that one more. They will be there that one more. Um, but it's a personal choice, and no choice is the wrong choice. And I want to say that over and over again because I have had people tell me that I am crazy to run alone and I'll never be better. And I've had people tell me that um, groups suck. And I have also been in groups that suck because a lot of them are entitled, pompous assholes that think they are the shit because they can run fast and they are not inclusive. And I don't like that at all because everybody has to start somewhere. And
yeah,
I'm sorry, I wasn't born a twig that was meant to run forever and ever. I have had to work at this, and I am proud that I have chosen to work at this because it was my choice and it was my commitment and it was my diligence. Um, but it doesn't make me any lesser than the person that can run a minute faster a kilometer than me.
absolutely. I know the first time I showed up because I was getting messages from a run club and I was like so nervous because I'm like, I don't know. They're all like pro runners who do all these crazy races and I'm just this hobby runner, how I describe it. And I showed up and everyone's got their gear on and I got my running shoes and they have their route that they do. And I thought, okay. I don't know anything about pacing myself yet, so I just took off running. And at one point, I lost the group.
Mhm.
They got ahead of me, and then there was some behind me. So I was like on my own pace. And I just remember thinking, what the hell is this? I'm running alone. Where am I? Where's the route? Where do I go? And then I think at one point, a lady that was behind me had saw like I fell back from the initial group. And so she kept up because I was falling back. So it was like nice to see someone, okay, identify using their skills to be like, let me help support this person. So yeah, definitely having someone to push you. But yeah, it can be really overwhelming to be not paired with like your skill level.
Yeah, and do your research. If you're going to go out with a group, that's awesome. And if that's the encouragement and the place that you need, uh, I fully support that. But do your research. Go out to the venue if you can before the run group and kind of scope out. So like the one that I did that I ended up feeling really comfortable with, and I've done a few things. It's called Backroads Brews and Shoes in London. So they have a little coffee house and brew station, and it's a store, but they also do run groups and training. Um, I live in a small town just outside of London. So there's not a lot of opportunity. There are some here, but again, being a single mom, it doesn't always fall on the nights that I can do. Same with the training programs. I would love to go do a training program with them. My life just doesn't give me that option. So I had to find an alternative, and that's okay as well. I go when I can. Um, but I randomly found a run group in London on the weekend that I saw pop up and I was gonna go. I did my research on their Instagram page first. Nothing against the run group. Their runs look lovely, but I'm going to be 39 in a week. And it turns out that they're a Western run club of 18 to 25-year-olds. That's not my scene anymore. I don't want to go and talk about whatever they're going to be talking about or run the pace that young 20-year-olds can run. Like that's just not where I want to be. And I would have gone and I would have felt maybe incompetent. Maybe I would have fit in. But I don't want to take that risk of putting my progress back because I put myself in a situation and in a group that was going to make me feel uncomfortable. So if you just take a little bit of time before going out there, it will save a lot of heartache,
Yeah,
a
take that
lot of brain
time to know
pain.
yourself and know your goals and what you
Yeah.
out of it. Yeah. And I think this is a message I share a lot too is it's not about perfection, it's about intention. So don't put
Ooh,
so
I
many
like that.
don't put so much expectation on yourself like I have to run this pace, I have to run this time, I have to just have the intention of I want to run. I'm going to run. Not then you're not disappointed. You always have that opportunity to be proud, to show up. Whereas if you're just moving forward with all that expectation, there's just so much room for disappointment and heartache, as you say.
I've never been able to phrase it before, but that's so perfect because I say, like, I'm very undertrained for the race in 3 weeks and I should be panicking more than I am. But I learned from my first half marathon, I had a 2:15 goal, which is insane for your first half marathon. And I went out there and it was one of the hottest days, and the smoke levels were at the highest that they almost canceled the race because of the fires that had been bringing smoke into Ontario. And I ran 15 minutes slower than I expected to. And I was still so proud of myself. And then I signed up for this half marathon and I was like, I'm going to get that 2:15 goal. And then some shit happened this summer. And I was injured and I didn't get to train as much as I wanted. And I just wanted to have fun with my kid. So I stopped and I reevaluated and went, who is that 2:15 for? Me. So is that where I am right now? Because maybe it was 2 months ago when I signed up for this, but is this still the intention? Do I want to kill myself trying to get there? Do I want to possibly injure myself so I can never do this again? No, I just want to cross the finish line and know that leading up to the race, I still did what I needed to do, but I also lived my life. Because running's not my life, it's just a piece of it.
Yeah. And I think that's really important too in all aspects of life is being adaptable with your goals and being able to show up where you are and where you're at. And that is where that expectation versus intention really comes in is you if you're always waiting for the perfect scenario, the perfect situation, the perfect conditions, have the expectation of how that perfect run is going to be, like you're just not going to do it. So yeah, definitely in with all of your goals, be okay with shifting goals and shifting where what's valuable and important to you. And we grow and live as people, even when we hit goals, like that's not it. That's not the finish line. Now you have to have another goal. Like what's the next thing? We keep living, we keep learning. So
And
so
that's another really valuable thing to say. It's not about the finish line. It
yeah.
isn't. You start and you think it's about that finish line, but if you don't appreciate all of the milestones leading up to crossing that finish line, the finish line doesn't fucking mean anything. I'm sorry. It is pointless. You have missed the whole journey, and it's not about the ending. It's about what you learned in between.
I think a lot of people give up before the finish line on a lot of things in life because they think, oh, I'm not going to hit the finish line or I'm not going to hit it in the time and expectations I want. And because they're putting so much focus on the finish line of whatever the goal is, not we're not even talking about just runs, right? We're talking about everything. It's, you know, you, you got to enjoy the journey. And I think once people find that gumption to just show up wherever you're at and show up and work towards the goal and work towards the thing and appreciate those little dots all around and the little specks on the journey and learn that it's a new lifestyle you want. If you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling sad, if you're feeling in a rut and angry and disappointed, it's those little habits, those little things that slowly compound. You have to change your mindset. You have to change what you're doing. And yeah, being okay with those shifts and letting go of old patterns and habits. Yeah,
And you
love
have to
it.
remember that the old habits are much easier and the shit is much easier to fall into and to hold on to.
Safe
It
and
is
comfortable.
it is your comfort zone because you know that this is the pain, you felt this pain, you've had this experience before and you got through it. So is it really that bad to live in it? But when you don't just have a straw above the water and you get your nose out and your mouth out and your shoulders out and you start to see the world again, you realize that living in the shit is a lot worse and a lot more anchoring than you've ever realized. And that isn't the intent of life. That isn't where you should be. You deserve to see the light. You deserve to feel the wind on your face and have that deep breath of joy.
I love it. What is your hype up song when you're trying to get motivated or you need to push that one more?
Ooh, I don't know that I have one. Probably right now. Probably right now because of Ada. It's Roar by Katy Perry, and
Okay,
this
yeah.
is not something that I would typically choose for myself, but she is very animated whenever she does that. Um, yeah, for music for me, it's never just one thing. It's mood dependent and day
Setting
dependent.
that setting
And
that cadence.
yeah, so depending on I don't want to do this. I also run based on BPM for cadence, so it's not necessarily just a hype song. It's how fast do I want to go?
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna think of about 10 when we hang up. Probably if I go on my phone. Ooh, as my smut comes on. That's the audiobooks that I've
Oh,
been
audiobooks,
listening
I love it.
to.
So we have a few more minutes, but
Yeah.
maybe do you want to introduce yourself? Take this chance to introduce yourself.
Ooh, I don't like these questions. Something I've been working really hard on doing and getting better at because again, you get embarrassed almost to hype yourself up and to introduce yourself because you're like, you're told from an early age that it's, I don't even know the word. Um, it's conceited to say things about yourself in a positive light when really it's just the awesome person that you are. Um, who am I? Okay. Hi, I'm Cassie. I have the Instagram handle Courage with Cassie, and I have been a mother. I have been a wife. I have been a runner. I have been a family member. But now all of those things are just a part of me. Now I'm just me, doing what I need to do, wading through the shit to see the light. I am a person who loves the fact that she can do hard things. I'm a person that loves the fact that she can inspire others as she inspires herself. I'm a person that isn't afraid anymore. And I'm the woman that I want my daughter to become in her own way as she gets older.
I love that.
It was awful, but
That's good. That's good. What else? Is there anything that you want people to know, or is there any other piece of advice that you want to share?
the one that I keep reminding myself is don't be afraid to start and walk away. And this is reflective mostly in my, again, therapy about my marriage and ex-husband and all of his stuff that is his story to tell, not mine. Um, but you're allowed to start something and realize that it's not for you and close the chapter and walk away. Because that's all it is a chapter. It is not your entire book. It is not everything that is laid out. You don't need to stay just because you feel that you deserve the consequences that you chose in a moment with a person that you were at one point, because you get to evolve and you get to experience and you get to morph and change into the person that you want to be. And sometimes the things that you've chosen in the past when you were someone completely different don't serve you anymore. It is not a failure to walk away. You don't need to be rooted in consequence, and you do deserve joy.
I love that. And now, in terms of that advice specifically, where do you draw the line or what's the boundary of like when you're assessing a situation in life and you're like, I need to know to walk away, or when you need to not give up on yourself and push a little more? Like how do you differentiate that?
It's a really good question, and I'm still learning, but for me right now, I I have to sit and actually be very honest with myself. Am I trying to walk away because it's hard and I'm scared of failing because I don't think that I can do whatever the task is? Or am I scared of walking away because of what other people might say or think?
Yeah,
It all comes back to being comfortable enough with yourself to sit in the thoughts, in the shit, and truly evaluate why and who you're making choices for. Because if that why and that who is not intrinsically for you, then you need to reevaluate your choices. You need to reevaluate the path that you're getting to walk away or stay. It's your life, it's your story, it's your narrative. Yes, your choice is going to affect those around you, but those around you don't get to live in the shit, in the joy, day in and day out. So make the choice for you.
I love that. Self-empowerment 101.
Woo!
Amazing. Thank you so much for talking with me, Cassie, and
You.
being
That was
here.
awesome. Next time, can we talk about you? Because I would love to know your story a little bit more than I see.
Yeah,
Before we go, tell me, I want your definition of yourself. Introduce yourself.
okay. Hello, my name is Jessica. I am 40 years old. I just turned 40. I have lived what I feel like is 1,000 lives already. I have, been a oldest daughter in a single parent home with two younger sisters. So I've at times felt like a parent. I don't have children, but I hear it all the time as a 40-year-old, when are you going to have kids? I have been a workaholic. I have been a drug user, an alcoholic. I have struggled with addiction and gotten through all of that. I have been through many traumatic experiences in my life, and I feel like I've just been the person who wants to show people that shit happens to all of us. And it is about how you react and show up in the face of adversity to move forward um, with dignity and grace while being true to yourself. I think it's so hard to get out of your own mind sometimes and trying to be the way you think the people around you want you to be. And so it's really about learning who you are and being yourself. And I just share my journey online, hoping to motivate and inspire and empower people to be their best selves. Um, if I can help one person know they're not alone in a struggle, I think that's a win. There's too many people that feel like they're on their own. So I am a self-empowerment coach now. I've built an online virtual community that I've been growing for the past 7 years. I'm a personal trainer. I've gotten into fitness as my own self-empowerment tool to fuel my mental and physical health. Yeah, that's me, Jessica, 40. Been all the things, and I hope I have another 40 years to explore this world.
It's always been a pleasure watching you. And if you didn't know, I have been one of those people that you've inspired. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Do you have any questions for me? I know I got to ask you a lot of stuff, but yeah, if there's anything you want to ask me while we're talking, because who knows when we'll get the chance to talk again.
No, but I would love to chat again.
Amazing. Let's go for a run.
Okay, deal.
Love
I'll
it.
come to Toronto and run with you.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Uh, okay, I'm going to turn off this recording.